Hello and welcome to Instant Impact with Elyse Archer, your source for fresh ideas on how to accelerate your income, influence, and your network. I'm Elyse Archer, your host and personal brand strategist. And now let's dive into today's show. Well, hello and welcome, guys. I am so excited for the first official episode of my new podcast, Instant Impact with Elyse Archer. This has been a long time in the making. I have actually been the co-host of multiple podcasts in the past about sales and leadership, but this is my first solo show, and I'm just so thrilled to be here and to be spending some time with you today. And in the show, I'm going to be sharing with you my insights on all things personal branding, business relationship building, and really it's about how to make a stronger impact in our businesses and our networks in less time. And on top of that, today's going to be a solo show so you can get to know me a little bit better, and I'll share with you some of my insights into really what it takes to be known as an expert in your space. But over the course of the coming episodes, I'm going to be bringing on a lot of just powerhouse entrepreneurs, personal brands to bring their insights as well into how they have built the brands that they've built, how they build deeper business relationships, and how they seek to make a bigger impact in their network and their influence and their income in less time. And so with all of that said, if you don't know me yet, I'll give you just a little bit of background on who I am and why I'm doing this for you. So I would say I am probably the least Southern person that you will ever meet. So I was born and raised in North Carolina. I currently live in Atlanta, actually, with my amazing husband, Jason. But what I always hear from people is, where's the Southern accent? So both of my parents are from up north. So I think I missed having that Southern twang. I don't know, maybe you guys think I do when you listen to this, but I am indeed a Southern girl born and raised. I went to school for journalism at UNC Chapel Hill, go Heels. But I quickly realized that I would never really support the lifestyle that I wanted while being a journalist. I remember sitting in class one day and the professor was like, so, the average income that you'll make in newspaper reporting is around $30K a year. And I realized even at that age that I had more expensive taste than that. And so I made a pivot and I quickly went into sales and marketing and have been doing something in those industries since graduating school. So I spent after college about 10 years working with some major global marketing companies doing digital marketing and advertising strategies for small businesses. Was very successful, had kind of everything I thought I wanted at that age, the nice house, the nice car, the six-figure income. But I realized at that point that I wasn't feeling fulfilled the way that I thought I would. And I realized I wanted to make a bigger impact in the world. And for me, part of that was going out on my own to start my own business. And so at age 28, I took the leap from corporate and I decided to go out on my own as a sales coach. And now look, I don't necessarily recommend if you are someone who is in corporate and you're wanting to become an entrepreneur and do your own thing. And that's not what this podcast is about, just so you know. The topics on this podcast apply whether you are an entrepreneur, a wantrepreneur, or whether you're in corporate and you love that and you want to stay there. So this isn't just for entrepreneurs, but I'll just share a little bit of my background because I know that a lot of people listening are entrepreneurs or want to be. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing it the way that I did it. I left with 6 months worth of savings to my name and no definite plans, but I have been someone throughout my life who is very guided by intuition and who has learned to trust my gut. And I just knew it was at that point the right thing for me to do. And so sure enough, it was. And I started my own company called Six Figure Sales Coaching. And very quickly thereafter, I actually ended up joining forces with an 8-figure international sales coaching organization and partnering up with them. And within a few years, I became a partner in that company. I was leading a team. I was traveling the globe, working with different sales teams and sales professionals to help them improve their skills and accomplish their goals in life. And then last year in 2018, I actually exited that company And I'm now really fulfilling the next phase of my career and impact. And I work with people as a personal brand strategist and a video confidence coach. And what I found through the years of working as a sales coach is while I really enjoyed teaching people things like how to improve their closing ratios and how to overcome objections, to me, what I feel I'm best at and what lights me up the most is actually teaching people how to build a really influential personal brand so that you really don't have to sell it all, but rather so that people are coming to you, ideal clients are coming to you because they've heard about you, they've watched your videos, they've learned from you online, and you have that, we call it a rock solid reputation. You have that rock solid reputation where it's like you don't really have to sell anything. People are just drawn to you. So it's a total paradigm shift, but helping people become that person is what I do now. And so I am a founding team member of a company called Brand Builders Group. I work with a number of my colleagues from the former company. We've got a New York Times bestselling author. We have $1 million speaker on the team. So really, really accomplished professionals who all come together to help individuals build influential personal brands and help them develop greater influence and impact in their specific area of focus. So with all of that said, what brought me to creating this podcast for you? Well, last year I experienced what I would consider two different deaths. One was a literal death, and one was more of a metaphorical one. And the literal one was my former podcast co-host of a show that I used to be the co-host of, called The Social Selling Podcast by Linking into Sales. My co-host, there were three of us on there, Martin, Greg, and I. Greg actually passed away in August of 2018. He was 39 years old and he passed away in his sleep. And it was this wow moment of, I was 32 at the time. And it made me think about, wow, if I had, 7 years left to live, what would I want my life to be about? And then the other thing that happened was shortly before that, I exited my role as a partner in that sales coaching organization. And suddenly my identity was no longer what it had been up until that point. So when I left the company, part of what I was then faced with was everything that I have built a name and a reputation for myself about up until this point no longer matters, because I knew I was going to be doing something different. And all of a sudden I had to really think about, okay, like this is what I've built my expertise and my personal brand in, is the arena of sales coaching. And if I'm no longer going to be known for that, what am I going to be known for? And I had a period of a couple of months of really searching and seeking and kind of, I would say, going inside. I did a heck of a lot of meditation to think about, yes, this is scary, but also this is a major opportunity. And if I now have the opportunity to have almost a rebirth of what my own personal brand is going to be about, what do I want that to look like? And if I didn't have a ton of time left on this earth, which I certainly hope I do, but Greg's passing really made me think about this, what would be the thing that I would want my message and my legacy to be? What am I going to be known for? What is the message that I want to impart onto the world? And so I really take this platform and this podcast very seriously, because I know it is a gift and a blessing to have this incredible platform that I can communicate with you wherever you are in the world. And I'm really serious and intentional about the message that I share with you here because it matters. And because I do have to look at each of these episodes as this is a chance to really, really leave my knowledge with the world and leave my legacy with the world and hopefully impart blessings on the people who are listening. And so as I thought about what I'm most passionate about, it's about helping you shine. It's about helping you overcome your fears of visibility, of what it would look like to step onto a larger stage and build a bigger platform for yourself and build a stronger network and really become that next level of yourself and your influence and your personal brand that you know is out there for you and that you're wanting to achieve, but that you may feel scared to, or you may just be needing the strategy to get there and to do it. I'm also super passionate about helping you learn how to deepen your connections with other people. And I'll share some of my own journey with that and how I used to really struggle with that and some of the lessons that I've learned along the way. And so this podcast is going to be about those things. It's going to be about building an influential personal brand. It's going to be about deepening our connections with the people that we work with and our clients and customers who we serve. And it's going to be about how do you become more visible and really shine in your space. And I'm just so excited to talk about these deeper topics with you, because I think that they're the things that really matter. And so this is going to be a weekly show, so you can expect to tune in weekly. Like I said, I will have guests on, especially in a lot of the earlier episodes. I have a bunch of amazing interviews pre-recorded for you with some major powerhouses that I can't wait to share with you in the next few episodes. But then I'll also be doing some solo episodes and some more workshop style classes where I teach some of the strategies and techniques that we teach at Brand Builders Group and that I teach through my own company doing video confidence coaching for professionals. And so I think each of these episodes, it's designed not just to be feel good, but really to be tactical as well. Some of them are going to be more about mindset shifts, but then some of them are really going to be more about the ins and outs, the tactical. How do you build better relationships with the people you work with? How do you build that more influential personal brand? And so if you're listening, maybe you're currently working a corporate job, but you really do have that desire to eventually leave and start your own thing. And you're looking for the guidance and the framework to do that. Maybe you already have made that leap and you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to go to that next level. You want to elevate your impact. You want to elevate your influence in your field. You want your ideal clients coming to you. Or maybe you're working in corporate and you're really happy there and you want to stay there. Maybe you're doing sales or you're in some sort of business development position, and your ideal world would be to have your dream clients and prospects coming to you to work with you because you are so renowned in your field and because you've already shared so much value with them rather than you having to go out and chase them. So regardless of who you are and where you're working, I'm guessing that there's a couple of key things that you care about. And I'm guessing that you really care about deepening the quality of the relationships that you have with your network, with your clients and your prospects, building a better, deeper network and becoming more of a connector. I'm guessing that you also care about becoming known as more of an expert in your space and building that influence and that impact. And I'm also guessing that you are probably like me and you care about getting better results in your business and your life in less time. And that's really what was the inspiration behind this name, was how do we make an instant impact in our results, in our life? And so if that is the case for you, and if you are someone who is looking to make quantum leaps and find hacks to get better results in less time, then this is the place for you. And I want to just warmly welcome you here and let you know what an honor and a privilege it is for me to share these things with you. And so for the podcast today, what I really wanted to talk with you about is what I believe it takes to be positioned as an expert in your field. 3 key things that I think it takes. And the reason why I want to talk with you about this is, I work in the space of building personal brands, and my team and I at Brand Builders Group, we've worked with some very well-known entrepreneurs like Lewis Howes from School of Greatness. He's got a top 100 podcast, Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank, John Ruhlin, Giftology, Julie Solomon, the Influencer podcast. And so we've worked with these big names. And then we also work with people who aren't as well-known yet, people who are really just starting out. And one of the questions that I hear over and over again, regardless of the level of accomplishment that someone has in their space, is oftentimes a fear of, do I really have the authority to position myself that way? Do I really have the authority to talk about this thing? And I want to try to dispel some of those myths and help you overcome those fears today if you are wanting to be more visible and wanting to build a deeper and more profound brand for yourself, but you feel some of those hesitations and fears. And guys, trust me, I totally get this. I have struggled with the same thing. And I remember last year when I was making the leap from sales coaching, look, I was putting out content about sales almost every single day. I would do a sales tip video and I would talk about closing and objection handling and prospecting. And I had no issues getting on camera and sharing my expertise and being visible in that way. And then when it came time to make that transition and think about, okay, what am I going to talk about now? I knew I wanted to talk about something bigger, but I'll be honest, I felt fear and I felt hesitation and I felt a degree of questions of, well, who am I to talk about the deeper life stuff, like making an impact and building influence and deepening connections? And what is your legacy? And what are you going to be known for? And I really had a period of questioning and fear around that. And so these are things that I've had to kind of coach myself around, and that I feel like I've overcome, but I can really relate if that's a question that you have that you're facing right now. And so when I think about the keys to being positioned as an expert in your field, I think we want to just start with a healthy dose of reality here. So I'm not going to go tell you to just decide that you're an expert in something that you've never done before and that you don't have any background in. That's not what this is about. We need a dose of reality of, it's not that you want to try to be something that you're not, okay? When we're working with clients in Brand Builders Group, we do these intensive, like 2-day brand strategy sessions with them where we help them build out their blueprint for the next phase of their personal brand. And one of the things that we talk about in those sessions is that there's 3 types of marketing. There's marketing that works, there's marketing that's ethical, and there is marketing that's aligned. And it's not that you couldn't go out and claim to be an expert in your space without having experience, but would it be ethical? And would it be aligned with your moral compass? It may work, but we would say that that's probably not what you want to do, because ultimately you're not going to have longevity in doing that. So when we're helping our clients get really clear on what their expertise is and how they're going to position themselves, we often look at 2 different things. The first is, what have you researched? So that's going to be, what's your degree in? What do you have certifications in? What have you attended courses on? What do you know a lot about? So it's more of like the book smarts. But then the second piece of that is really the street cred. What do you actually have results in? And that can be results that you've gotten for yourself or for your clients. But those are the things that when you can find some alignment between those 2 questions, you really do have the authority to start positioning yourself as an expert in your space in that area. And so once you've gotten clear on what that is, then I think there's really, I would say 3 keys. And look, there's plenty more, but for the purposes of today's podcast, I'd say 3 primary keys that are foundational for establishing that you are an expert. And the first one is to make a decision. It is to decide that you are an expert in that space. After you've gone through that exercise and you've gotten really clear that, yes, I do have a background of studying and research in this field, and yes, I have gotten results in this, then you need to decide that you are an expert. And I remember my mom, so she wrote a book years ago about surviving infidelity. And she's a licensed psychologist, and she's retired now, but for years she did a lot of work working with couples on overcoming infidelity and like marital issues and all of that type of stuff. And she was writing a book, and I remember she told me the story of speaking with her publisher. I think it was actually her editor, about the book, and she was working on her bio. And he wanted to include on the back of the book that she was an expert in the space of overcoming infidelity. And she asked him, she said, well, am I really? Like, can I say that I am? And he said, well, if you're writing this book, you darn well better be an expert. Now, he didn't say darn, but I'm trying to keep this PG. And that was kind of this just, wow, like at a certain point, look, my mom has a degree from Harvard. She's probably one of the best educated people I've ever met in my life. The woman is well educated, and you don't need that level of schooling, academic schooling, to be an expert. But even she was questioning, do I have the right to call myself an expert? And so he told her, yes, and you just need to claim that and own that. And it was in that moment that shift happened for her, where she started carrying herself as an expert and thinking about herself as an expert. And she would have clients come in from overseas to work with her because of that book and because of her expertise. And so one of the things that we talk about at Brand Builders Group is something that we call AJ's Law. And so AJ is one of our co-founders. She and Rory Vaden are the 2 co-founders of our company. Amazing, amazing people. She's $1 million producer. She's built an influential personal brand for herself. But one of the things that she says is, to be an expert, you only need to know a little more than the person you're talking to. And I really like to use that rule of thumb, whether you're speaking one-on-one with a client or prospect, or whether you're speaking to a room of people. You don't need to know everything, And I think that's part of marketing that's ethical, is being really clear and transparent. Like, I have clients come to me and they'll ask about Facebook ads, and I'll be like, look, that's not my area of expertise, but here's a person I know who can help you with that. It's like, look, where I can really shine is helping you with the strategy for your marketing and helping you get confident in creating your videos, because I've done those things over and over and over again. So it's not that you need to know everything, but it's that for whatever you are positioning yourself as being an expert in, you just need to know a little more than the person you're talking to. And one of the things that I've really learned over the years is that the things that seem really obvious and simple and like no-brainers to you aren't that obvious to someone else. And I don't know about you, but oftentimes I'll find myself working with a client and I'll be sharing a methodology or a strategy, and it will be like this, wow, that's amazing. I never thought about that. And to me, it seems very obvious because it's what I've been doing for a long time. But to them, it's just not their area of expertise. So it's like, wow, this is life-changing. And so I think we need to stop discrediting the things that we think are so simple and basic, because to your ideal client, it'll change their life, right? It'll help move them towards their goals. And so part of that is just really owning everything that you've learned, everything that you've spent years studying, everything that you have developed within yourself has a value. And it's going to be, whether it's earth shattering or just really helpful to your ideal client, it's going to make a difference for that other person. And it could be extremely profound for them. So the second piece to becoming an expert or being positioned as an expert is overcoming your fear of visibility. Now, guys, this is a doozy, and I can relate to this one too. I talk to so many people who at their core, it may get disguised as, well, I don't know what my strategy is yet, or I don't have my website done yet, or whatever it is. But at its core, a lot of times what it is it's a fear of being more visible in the world. And I struggled with this for so many years. And this is something that when you start to really do, like, I've done the deep work on it and realized that a lot of it comes back from childhood and feeling like I was too much for the household I grew up in a lot of ways. And I don't know if you can relate to this. And my parents are amazing people, love them both dearly, but there was a lot of tension growing up in our household. And I remember feeling like the way that I want to show up in this household and the feelings I have, if I were to fully express myself, it would be probably more than the family could take. And so because of that, I shrank and I got small, and I actually developed an eating disorder, and I was anorexic. And I struggled with that, guys, for 17 years of just literally physically diminishing myself so as to not take up too much space. And it was a long struggle for me of realizing that I was put here on this earth for a reason, and that the more space that I take up, the more I can serve and help other people. And it's kind of like that Marianne Williamson quote. I absolutely love this quote. She says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others." And I just love sitting with that quote for a minute, because I think once we really get it, it's like, it doesn't serve anyone for you to play small. It doesn't serve anyone for you to hide, not you and not all the people who you are meant to impact and to influence. And I think about some of my mentors and the people who I look up to, and some of them I pay to work directly with, and some of them I haven't worked with yet, but I follow them online. And the things that they share about their life, whether it's their travel, whether it's their home, their lifestyle, their family, what they believe, the types of opportunities that are available to them, because they share that, I am inspired. Because they share that, I hold myself to a higher standard because I realize if it's possible for them, it's possible for me too. And so I just really want to encourage you today that if you have been playing small and if you have been struggling with that fear of visibility, go find that quote online. If you just search Marianne Williamson, Our Deepest Fear, you'll find it, and print it out and put it next to your computer and read it every day and realize that your time here, it's not infinite. And we all have this finite amount of time to make our impact and better the world and leave our legacy and positively impact other people. And the way you're going to do that is by being more visible and by stepping up into a bigger spotlight. And guys, part of what that requires too is overcoming a fear of or a need to be perfect. That's another excuse that people make a lot of times is, well, I'm a perfectionist, so I just haven't done this yet. And I love what Brendon Burchard says. He says, guys, until it's out in the world, you have nothing to perfect yet. Until you've created it, there's nothing to perfect. So stop saying you're a perfectionist. You're just procrastinating on it. And so I think it really is getting over that mindset of this thing, whatever it is, whether it's a video, whether it's a book that you're writing, whether it's launching your new website, whatever it is, it does not need to be perfect in order for you to release it. One of the things that I teach people in my video confidence coaching course is about how terrible my first videos were. And if you follow me online, I put out a lot of videos on LinkedIn and on my YouTube channel, and you can find me on any social on Elyse Archer. You will notice my videos are not edited. They are not polished. They are raw. They're not scripted. I just get them out there. And could I get better results? Could I get 1 million views or downloads if I had a really polished video? Look, maybe. Quite possibly. But I'll tell you what, guys, I have built some really successful businesses now on the back of putting out unpolished, unedited videos and just speaking from the heart and showing up as myself. And so it's not that me and you are not constantly trying to get better and improve, but it's that we can't get so stuck in our own fear of showing up that we just never release our work to the world. And if you're operating that way, everyone suffers. You suffer, the people you're meant to serve suffer. And so I really believe get over yourself and get that message out into the world. And if we can stop thinking so much about ourselves and start thinking about the people we're meant to serve and help, then everything else starts to unfold and work the way it's supposed to. And you will get inbound responses from the work you put out, and you will get people reaching out asking to work with you. It's crazy from the unedited, unscripted videos I put out on LinkedIn. I get literally hundreds and hundreds of connection requests every month from people who want to work with me and who want to connect with me there. And it's always mind-blowing to me. But the lesson has been, it does not need to be perfect. And the more important thing is for me to be visible and for me to share my message with the world in the hopes that it will inspire you to do the same. Whew. All right. So we've got 1 and 2. And then the third key that I think is really critical to being an expert is having that focus on service and generosity. And one of the themes of this podcast is the power of generosity. And I really believe that generosity is a time bender. It's something that shortens the amount of time it takes for you to get results in your network, in your business, and in your life. And I think there's 2 different ways in which we are called to be more generous. And the first is being more generous to yourself. And again, this is one of those things that I have had to really learn to do better in my own life over the past, I would say, 5 or 6 years. And I used to be very, very stingy with myself. I mean, thinking back to when I struggled with the eating disorder, I wouldn't give myself enough food to eat. And then once I got past that, and it was more about just thinking about in my business scaling and getting a team and hiring support and hiring coaches. And oh my gosh, God forbid, I needed to get a massage and have self-care. I really struggled with scarcity thinking and feeling like I didn't deserve to give myself that level of support and like it would be irresponsible for me to do so. And I don't know how much wealth consciousness work you've done, but that's something I've done a lot of work on on myself. And one of the things that I've gotten very present to, and maybe you can relate to this, is that scarcity thinking, again, it often gets programmed in childhood, and that it wasn't even really mine. And I learned, I grew up with plenty of money in our household, but I always had this sense that everything could go away at any time. And so that was the pattern that I repeated in my professional life, where I would make plenty of money and I would always have plenty of money, but there would always be this kind of underlying anxiety that at any time, if I make the wrong move, it could all go away. And part of where I think that comes from is actually more my grandparents, growing up in the Great Depression, and that type of thinking got programmed into my parents, which then got programmed into me. And I'm not a wealth consciousness coach, but I would advise, if that's something that you struggle with, is investing in yourself. Start reading some of the best wealth consciousness books out there, whether it's Think and Grow Rich, The Science of Getting Rich, Leveraging the Universe. There's so many good ones out there, and you can reach out to me on social if you're looking for more recommendations. But what I've really learned is that if I am going to support the volume and level of people that I want to support and make the impact in the world that I want to make, I need to be well supported as well. And it's just the natural way the universe works is to operate in abundance. Like if you look outside, you probably don't see starving animals walking around and collapsing. You don't see trees withering and dying. Depending on what time of year it is when you're listening to this, you may see trees blooming. You see healthy animals going around outside. You see the natural working laws of nature are for abundance for everyone. And I really believe that if we get out of that cycle and mindset, it's like we are out of alignment with how we are actually meant to operate and work in the world. And so I remember one of my coaches, who I'll actually interview on this podcast, Elyse Gentile. She's amazing. One of the things that she taught me was to think of myself like an ocean liner. And if I had these big goals of supporting the volume of people I want to support and giving the financial contribution that I want to give to different animal rescues that I'm really passionate about, and to other causes as well, I have to really have that solid foundation and that base to be able to carry that many people and causes. And if I were to just be this little dinghy, this little flimsy dinghy, like being flopped around out in the ocean, well, I could only support a couple of people. And that was really a mindset shift for me, is learning that if I am going to have the support and the resources to further my reach, to build a bigger platform, to scale, I need people on my team, like a podcast producer, like an assistant. I need editors. I need graphic designers. I need coaches. I need support. I need a financial advisor. Like I need all of those things. And then even at home, I need a house cleaner. I need Instacart. Amen to Instacart, guys. But really, really being okay with supporting myself and giving the necessary resources in order to do that. And so if you have dreams and goals of being a bigger expert in your space, I really encourage you to look at, where are you being stingy with yourself? And where are you holding back? Because the longer you hold back, or you hold on to things, the longer you hold back from investing in the things that you truly deeply desire to help you further your impact and your brand and your reach, the fewer people you're going to be able to reach, and the longer it's going to take for you to get where you want to go. And then the second piece is being more generous with others. And again, it really comes back to having that abundance mindset versus a fear of scarcity and lack. And when I think about the ways that we are called to be more generous with others in order to expand our reach and get the results we're looking for, I think about really three key areas. The first is being more generous with your network. The second is being more generous with your knowledge and information. And then the third is actually giving more generously. And so we'll do a lot more deep dives on this podcast, and I'll bring in different experts. Like even I've got John Rulin, who's a client of ours and a friend of mine who wrote Giftology, amazing entrepreneur. And we've got all sorts of different people coming on who are really experts in the field of generosity. But when I think about it, I'll just share some of my insights here. I always try to be very, very generous with making introductions for other people. And if you can become known as a connector and not be so afraid, it always blows my mind when people are so afraid to make an introduction. I think that is the thing, one of the things that will hold you back the most from gaining leverage and gaining expertise. The true connectors of the world, the people who are really well networked, are the people who go far in their businesses. They're the people who other people want to introduce ideal clients to. They're the people who get the most inbound connections. And so I encourage you to always think about, who do I know in my network that would love to meet each other? Who could really benefit from knowing each other? And stop being so afraid to introduce other people and start really becoming known as a connector. That's one of the things that Lewis Howes, who I mentioned before, is another one of our clients. Like, that's how he really started building his brand, which has now become just a massive empire in the podcasting space, was connecting other people and just looking for, how can I be of service and who can I connect? It's so powerful, guys. The second piece of that is being more generous with sharing your information and your knowledge. And one of the things that we teach when we're talking about how to build an influential personal brand and what your content strategy should be is that you should give away everything you know, one bite at a time. And a lot of this is based off of a book by an expert in the marketing space named Jay Baer. And I highly encourage you guys to go out and get this book. It's called Utility, Youtility. And the book is really it's kind of about that same strategy of giving away your knowledge and expertise. And here's the thing, guys. Today, information is such a commodity. People do not pay for information these days. What they pay for is organization and application of that information. And so one of the fastest ways for you to become better known as an expert in your space is to start just sharing your knowledge, your experience, share your methodologies, share what you do, and realize that people will come to you if you've given away that much for free. And this is the way I hire my coaches, is I will typically consume a fair amount of their free content. And then I'll say, man, if I could get that much for free, I can only imagine what I could get if they were actually working with me, helping me apply this to my own life. And I've made some very, very major purchases from people based upon them doing that. And I try to do the same in my own brand. And I would encourage you to do the same too. And then the third piece is to actually give more generously. And this is where part of the, I would really encourage you to read the book Giftology by John Ruhlin. And there's a ton of great resources out there in the world on gifting and giving. But if you deal with any fear of scarcity around giving or any fear about giving things financially, there's a great Tony Robbins quote that I love. And he says, life supports that which supports life, which really speaks to me back to that cycle of the universe just naturally being abundant. And the more that you give out there, the more that you will be given to. And I think it's just one of the best ways we can deepen relationships and build our network, which in turn builds our authority and our influence and our expertise, is by thinking about thoughtful, unique ways that we can give to other people. Whether it's a unique follow-up gift, like for example, I've got a new client who mentioned that she has a son who loves flashcards and loves learning. And last night I just went on Amazon and bought this cute, it was like a $13 set of flashcards for him. But I know that that will really make her smile and that will be meaningful to her. Just to really express my appreciation of her, to let her know that I care about her and her family. And there's so many different ways you can do this. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but the more generous you can be in giving to other people with gifts and sometimes with financially, it's like the more that comes back to you and the more people talk about you and the more your own influence is raised in your industry. And so I think when we give, it should always be without expectation. Otherwise, it really tarnishes the energy of the giving, in my opinion. But I just enjoy doing it, knowing that it's fun to get in that flow of giving and things always come back, even if it's an unexpected way. And so those would be the three ways that I would say, if you're really looking to position yourself as an expert in your field, I want to encourage you to start thinking about. First, again, decide that you are an expert. Second, we got to overcome that fear of visibility and showing up. And then the third is focus on service and generosity. And guys, this is really just the tip of the iceberg. I really, really appreciate you spending time with me today. And I truly hope this has been of service to you in your life. And so I would just encourage you, if you enjoyed this, guys, connect with me on social. You can find me pretty much anywhere on social at Elyse Archer. Head on over to ElyseArcher.com for the hub of all things related to what I do. And I've got more great tips, and I keep my blog there too, so you can connect with me. But again, I just want to say thank you for your time today. I can't wait to get to know you better. Send me a message, whether it's on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Let me know what you're up to in the world and how I can support you. And I'm just so excited to go on this journey with you. So until next time, guys, thanks again, and I will see you soon. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up today's episode of Instant Impact with Elyse Archer. If you found value in today's episode, I would love nothing more than for you to head on over to iTunes and give me a 5-star rating. It really does help me share the message of this show and impact as many lives as possible. Also, be sure to subscribe so you get notified of new episodes as they're released every week. And finally, please take a screenshot of this episode and share it on your favorite social network so that more of your friends and family can benefit from the message of this podcast. Always remember that you're only one moment away from making an impact.